And so tonight, man, I'm excited about what I'm getting to talk about. One, because I think it's timely, but two, because I think it'll change your life. You know, we've been, over the past few months, we've been in a series called Your Next 5 Years. For those of you that are your first time here, my name is Blake. Hello. Sorry for the emotional moment. But man, I'm just glad you're here. We've been in the series called Your Next 5 Years, and really what that's about is I know actually, because I've been in college, I've been in your shoes, I've been there. And even outside of college, your next 5 years, your next 5 decisions, your next 5 things is the craziest things of your life. You know, you graduate high school and they want you to figure out what the heck you're going to do with the rest of your life, and that is silly. It's silly. It's so silly. This is nerve-wracking. It makes me nervous thinking about it. I believe that in this time, whether you're a freshman or if you're a senior, or if you're even graduating, you're in grad school, over the course of the next 5 years, you're going to make some decisions that are going to drastically and dramatically change the trajectory of your life. You're going to pick a major. You might change a major a couple times. It's okay. You're going to graduate college. Some of you don't know if you are. You're going to graduate, I promise. Just keep trying. They'll get sick of you being in class and they'll give you a diploma, I promise. Some of you are going to find somebody. You're going to find somebody that you love, that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. Some of you, that's terrifying to think about, but it's real. Some of you, within your next 5 years, you might even be a parent. That's crazy, right? Some of you are like, nah, not yet. But it happens fast. Life happens so fast. And I think that in this series, my hope was that I would give you some tangible and practical tools for you to take with you over your next 5 years. You know, normally when we preach, you hear sermons about certain things, and most of the time it's pretty, spiritual. It's up here, but I wanted to get down here in a real practical level and talk about some real things. The first time that we got into this, we talked about how to change, how sometimes it's hard to change. You feel like you've been trying, and you just keep on hitting the wall, but we said, we're not going to stop at 6. Y'all remember that sermon? Some of you, yeah? After that one, we talked a little bit about the gift that nobody wants, the gift of singleness. Do y'all remember that one? Yeah. Some of y'all like, nah, I didn't come because it was on singleness and relationships, so why I didn't come. And we talked about how what you do right now in your life and your singleness will determine your future relationships. And last month, we talked about managing the things that God has given you to take care of, because it's not yours. You're not an owner. It's not yours. That you've been given something, and it's your job to do something with what you've been given, right? And this month is actually the only reason why I even chose this series in general, because I believe like there's so much out there that talks about how am I supposed to make the decisions that are gonna change my life? How do I actually make the decision? What are the things I need to know about that thing? And so tonight I want to talk about how to navigate your future. I know some of you are like, thank God, I was worried, I'm graduating next week. I don't know, not next week, whenever you graduate, whenever this feels like next week. This coming up quick, and you're like, I don't know what the heck I'm going to do with my life. Guess what, I'm 29, I still don't know what the heck I'm going to do with my life. So, with that being said, let's get into it. We're going to be in 1 Kings chapter 19. 1 Kings chapter 19. If you have a Bible, open it up. It's in the Old Testament. Some of you are like, 1 Kings? I didn't even know there was a 1 Kings. I'm like in Leviticus right now. I don't have no idea how to get there. I'm going to give you a second. I'm going to give you a little context as to where we are in this text so that you can figure out where we are. But before I do that, you have to do something for me. Right now, you need to go ahead and, you know what time it is. Go ahead and touch your neighbor and say, hey, neighbor. I'm glad you're here. I've been waiting all month to sit next to you. And so now what I need you to do now is I need you to turn to your other neighbor, the one that you just rejected, your second option. And I need you to say, hey, neighbor, I know you were my first choice. But I know that you see it's spring outside. And you springtime fine. Some of y'all wish that singleness sermon was tonight, but it's not. Get the number after. All right, let's get into it. 1 Kings chapter 19. 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 19. Just to give you a little context before we get into this, because if you don't know context, you don't know the story. Can I preach before I preach? Some of y'all in here on page 19 of your life, but people have only seen that page and not 1 through 19. They don't know what you've been through. They don't know your story. They don't know the path you've walked. I'm going to get to preaching up here, okay? If you don't know the full story, you don't know the story. Let me run you through the Bible right quick in 5 minutes. How y'all feel about that? Y'all think I can do it? I'm going to start with Abraham. It just make it easy that way. So 1 Kings, that's where we're going. But first, we're going to start with Genesis, because you know, Genesis is the beginning, right? Come on. Genesis, right? God makes Adam and Eve, right? Adam and Eve disobey God. He said, hey, don't eat that. Little girl, don't eat that. They ate out the garden. Y'all know the story. Y'all know how it goes, right? Then some time goes by. The world goes kind of down a toilet bowl, and guess what? A man named Noah gets risen up, right? He builds an ark. The animals come in 2 by 2. Yeah, everybody else gets. Hey, we're not going. We'll do the happy version. They survived. They made it, and everybody else didn't. Sorry, God is cutthroat, but I love it. God don't play that. Hey, if that's hard for you, God's just. That's a good thing. That's a really good thing. That he is not a lover of wrong. He's a lover of what's right. And he's going to handle what's wrong. And one day at the end of the story, he's going to set all things right. So that's good. That's good news. So this man named Noah, he brings out these people, right? They start over essentially. And it goes right back to where it was until a man named Abraham steps on the scene. Some of you grew up in church, you know about Abraham. But Abraham, he has this son named Isaac. Abraham is super old. He's like 100 years old. Can't even have kids, but he has a son. Right? Y'all know the story? Yeah? No? Some of y'all lost. Abraham has a son. That son's name is Isaac. Isaac has a son named Jacob. He has 2 sons, Esau and Jacob. Jacob steals his brother's birthright, I'm not going to get into the story. He has 12 sons, which make up the 12 tribes of Israel. And those 12 sons, their families, go to Egypt. Y'all know the story of Joseph, the coat of many colors, all that? Yeah, okay. Yeah, Joseph gets sold into slavery by his brothers. He rises up to the second hand of Pharaoh, and then he saves them, not only the Egyptians, but his people. And after 400 years, those 12 sons, they have had families and families and families, and they are in slavery in Egypt, right? Then God raises up a man named Moses. Do y'all know Moses? Y'all seen Prince of Egypt? Okay, great. Moses, God raises him up. He says, hey, I want you to go to Pharaoh. Tell them, let my people go. And so what Moses does, he rolls up. He says, hey, cuz, you're going to have to let my people go. My God don't play that, first off. 10 plagues later, Pharaoh's like, get up out of here. See ya. But then he says, nah, hold up. Like, I still want them, but not. So he chases them through the Red Sea. They're done. Okay, anyway, they go into the desert, the wilderness, 40 years. The next generation with Joshua comes into the promised land, and from there they conquer the land, so to speak, but they don't fully do it. Then there's a time where the Judges, so we're in the book of Judges right now. I just took you through 4 books, just so you know. We're through Judges, right? And Judges, it's a toilet bowl. It just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. You got Samson in there, you got Gideon in there, you got Barak, and I don't forget, you got other people in there. They got names. But so many people, right? Then you got a woman named Ruth who steps on the scene. Don't make me preach about the women of God in this place. Ruth she's not an Israelite, but she says to Naomi, he says, hey, your people, my people, your God, my God. And so she stays faithful when there's every reason for her not to be faithful. If you think that God doesn't have a high regard for women, reread your Bible, please. He's been using them since the beginning. Oftentimes in spite of men. So there, fellas, step it up. Let's go. Okay. Come on. All right. Ruth meets a man named Boaz. Boaz and them have a son named, I forgot his name. Forgive me. David comes from that lineage, right? David is the second king of Israel, right? Do y'all remember David? David and Goliath. Man after God's own heart, David. David, David, he has a son named Solomon, and Solomon, he had a whole lot of wives. He had 1,000 wives, which is really bad. That, just so you know, that was not a good thing. Terrible. And what happens is this kingdom that God had established with David gets divided after Solomon. And now you have the northern kingdom and southern kingdom, Israel and Judah, right? Then you have this consecutive line of kings, which brings us to the book of Kings. Hey, you're welcome. I took you through it. Crash course in the Blake Standard version. Come on. Context, yes. Come on, come on, come on. And so in the book of Kings, there is a specific man by the name of Elijah who is a prophet for God. He's a prophet in the northern kingdom of Israel, and there's this bad king named Ahab, and he's married to this crazy lady named Jezebel. Do y'all know Jezebel? Y'all heard of, oh, she a Jezebel. Y'all heard that? That's where that's from. And so what had happened over the course of time with these kings as they've turned from God and they've chased after other gods and they've worshiped these idols, essentially all of Israel gets turned away from the God that brought them out of slavery into this land that he promised Abraham a really long time ago. So Elijah, he comes up and he says, hey, there's going to be a showdown, essentially. Bring your prophets of Baal, these false gods, and we're going to have a showdown on this mountain, right? And he has this big moment where I don't want to tell you all the whole story, but essentially he wins, okay? It's not the point. But he runs for his life because he comes back expecting to believe that all of Israel's turned back to Yahweh, turned back to God. I dropped the water. But they haven't. And so what he does is he runs and he goes into the wilderness and he says, God, I wish I was dead. I'm the only one left. I'm the only one that's decided to follow you. And God, he gives him what he needs, and he takes him to the mountain. He speaks to him on the mountain. And what he tells him is, hey, I want you to go find a man named Elisha. And that is where we pick ourselves up in this story. And our text is chapter 19, verse 19. So Elijah, he departed from there, and he found Elisha, the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with the 12 yoke of oxen in front of him, and he was with the 12th. Elijah passed by him and cast his cloak upon him. And he left the oxen, and he ran after Elijah and said, let me kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow you. And he said to him, go back again, for what have I done to you? And he returned from following him, and he took the yoke of oxen, and he sacrificed them, and boiled their flesh with the yokes of the oxen, and gave it to the people, and they ate. Then he arose and went after Elijah, and he assisted him. I want to work from the title tonight. This makes me nervous. This makes me nervous. Touch your neighbor, say, this makes me nervous. Some of y'all for real nervous about touching your neighbor. You're like, hold on, don't touch me. I don't know you like that. I don't know you at all. That's nerve-wracking. This makes me nervous. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I get nervous a lot. And when I mean nervous a lot, I don't mean like I'm like a nervous person. There's just things, I think it's just a word I say, I feel nervous about this. Do anybody else say that? It's like I'm unsure. Like I feel kind of I just don't feel great about it, so I feel nervous. I'm afraid, but I'm not afraid. But do y'all feel me? Y'all understand what I'm saying? Am I communicating? Okay, all right. Yeah, okay. So I get nervous, but for me, it's not like a certain thing. It isn't like I get nervous in small spaces. It's not like I'm nervous in a room full of people. It's not. I do get nervous sometimes being up here, but that's okay. But like, there's like things about being nervous that are not necessarily tied to a certain specific thing. Like I don't have like a nervous feeling like a spider's gonna follow me right now. Like I don't have that nervous feeling. Some of you might be a little nervous about who you're sitting next to. A little close, breathing a little hard. It's uncomfortable, okay? I understand. We get nervous. And I don't know when it really started, but specifically for me, I get nervous about things that I don't know the answer to. And not necessarily like a question, but I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, watching a movie and you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. So you're just like, do you know what I'm talking about? Okay. It's the anticipation. That's the right word. That's the word I was looking for. That's going to help me later on. But I get nervous. I don't know if that's you. But growing up, there's a question that you always get asked. I don't know if this was your upbringing, but it was mine. It was, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? And for me, like I had confidence. Like, I was like, hold on, bro, I'm going to be a Power Ranger. Duh. I'm going to be a straight up Ninja Turtle. Little did I know, ninjas are not turtles and turtles are not ninjas. It's impossible. I cannot be a turtle at all or a ninja. Just not going to work out for me. I'm bow-legged, don't work, okay? I know some of y'all grew up, you're like, you know what, I'm going to be president. And hey, one of you might, but all of us can't be president. I don't know if you knew that or not. Some of you ladies in the room were like, you know what? I'm going to be a princess when I grow up. Hold on to that dream, baby. Hold on to that dream. But you grow up, and I think something happens where the world that we believe was wide open seems to be just like a little bit more closed. Where we realize, hey, I'm kind of not good at that. Or maybe I don't even want to do that. I thought I wanted to like deal with little kids my whole life, but then I was like, I met my nephew and I was like, I don't know if I want to. But you grow up over time and the things that you were once confident about, you're a little bit unsure. I don't know about you guys, but for me, my experience of coming into college was, my first question out of high school was, hey, we're going to go to college. Where are you going to go to college? I'll tell you one thing, I did not want to come to SFA. I'm from Nacogdoches. I was like, God, please don't make me go to SFA. I was nervous about having to go on accident. Like, I was just nervous. My grade's not good enough, God, help me, please. But I got nervous. Where am I going to go? What am I supposed to do? First question they ask you when you get there is, what's your major? And I don't know if it's still the pickup line, but back in the day, you used to roll up on honeys like, hey, girl, what's your major? Oh, yeah, business? Yeah, I'm Kanice. I don't know nothing about business. What's your major? What are you going to do with your life? What do you want to do? What's your major? Then they're like, okay, well, what do you want to do with it? I'm like, I have to do something with it? Like there's a decision after the decision after the, it just feels like it's just like a domino of decisions. And I'm just like, I really couldn't even decide what I was going to eat for breakfast this morning. I don't think I can decide my life right now at 19 years old. I don't think I can handle it at all, at all. Not only that, but you get to a point where you're going to graduate college and then it's, well, where are you going to get a job? Where are you going to live? What are you going to do? And then once you're like, I just was trying to graduate. I just had a test last week. I'm just trying to get past that before I try to do the next thing. Yeah, somebody in the room? Yeah. Then what's going to happen is you're going to get the job and then you're going to look around and you're going to have parents or grandparents to say, oh, hey, when you going to get married? You've been single for a while. You okay? Maybe if you turn that personality down a little bit, maybe somebody would like you. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. Nobody ever told me that. Then you get in a relationship, and then what? It's when are you going to have babies? Then after that, it's like, oh, well, when are you going to retire? And you spend your entire life looking for the next thing, and you're like, dude, I just am here right now. I'm trying to enjoy my moment and not freak out about the thing that's coming up that I don't know that it's coming up, then it's coming up, you know? I still get calendar anxiety. I wake up thinking I have a test, and I've been out of college for a minute. Do you know what I'm saying? This makes me nervous. You know, I think that we can build up this anxiety in our minds about figuring out the next thing in our life that we miss out on actually living the life that's presently in front of us. And while I do think it's important to think about the future and have a plan for the future and to look forward into the future, I think that oftentimes we can get so caught up in the future that we're so nervous we don't actually live in the present. And so what I want to do tonight is I want to actually give us some help. I want to give us some handles on how can I look forward into my future. How can I find out the thing that God's put on my life, the calling that he's called me into? Because here is the thing I do believe. Each and every one of you in this room have a calling that God has spoken over your life. I know a lot of you, you're worried about figuring it out. You're like, I should know right now. I'm like 16 and 17 and 19, and I'm like supposed to know what I'm going to do when I'm 35. Guess what? It's okay. It's okay, boo-boo. You're going to be all right. You don't need to know who your wife is or your husband is. You probably ain't even met him yet. Some of y'all in a relationship, good luck. It might happen, okay? Go to the singleness sermon we preached before, okay? But I believe God really does have a future out in front of us, but he has some things for us to actually realize about that future so that we don't live these nervous, anxious, bound up lives where we don't actually live the life that he made us to live. So, my first point tonight, and the point that I think a lot of us actually get the most worked up about. We get the most worked up about thinking like, I gotta find the thing that I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to find my future. I'm supposed to figure out what I'm supposed to do. What happens if I miss it? I'm supposed to find it. The reality is, and my first point tonight is that you don't find your future finds you. Your future finds you. Write that down. Let me help you. Your future finds you. Don't believe me? Here it is in the text. Verse 19. It says, so Elijah departed from there and he found Elisha. It says he found him. He found him. You're like, oh, well, okay, he found him, fine. The point of the whole thing, and what you don't realize, is right before this, God told him to go find him. So before Elijah even knew Elisha existed, God knew that he existed. And God knew that he called him. Elisha minded his own business, and this man ran up on him. It says that he was out plowing with 12 yoke of oxen in front of him. Just to give you a visual, a yoke is 2. Oxen are ginormous animals. There's 2 by 2, right? So imagine 12 consecutive oxen. 24 to be exact. 12 yoke of oxen. There you go for your the language piece. He's at the back, the last one. Imagine how much land you would need for 12 yoke of oxen. Extreme amount of land. Extreme. Like, okay, bro, that's a little excessive. You got 12 combines out here. Like, that's extra. That's extra. But he's out and he's working. He's plowing his field. And Elisha, he's minding his own business. And Elijah, he walks up and he finds him and he puts his cloak around him and he keeps walking. His future found him. And I think for us, the thing that we often miss, and I think the thing that God is so honestly yelling at us throughout this entire series, is that the future is going to come, but you can't control when it comes. The only thing that you can control is where you are right now and what's in your hand. That's it. Elisha is not looking and waiting for this future and like going out and doing things like, man, I got to find out what I'm supposed to do with my life. I got to like go and like work this thing out. He's not knocking on people's doors asking for a job. He's not doing it. He's working his field. He's plowing. He's doing the thing he probably grew up doing. He didn't know anything else but this. He was minding his business, but he was doing his thing every day. Plowing. Plowing's the hardest part. I don't know if y'all know that or not. The strength it would take for him to control 2 oxen would mean that this man probably had been doing this his entire life and was strong enough to withstand the beating of plowing. So what that means is he didn't take no days off. What that means was that man was working. He was in the field. He was working what was in his hand. He was being present where he was, wasn't looking forward to something else to save him from where he was. I think a lot of us, we look so forward to the future because we believe that the future is going to save us from the present. That there's going to be some person that's going to come in and just save the day. Sorry, Disney, it's not going to work. Not going to happen that way. That we believe that a new job is going to make you a better worker. It's not. Guess what? You still got to wake up early. You still got to do stuff you don't want to do. You still got to deal with crappy coworkers at times. It's what it is. The thing you're presently doing is going to determine the thing that you're going to do in the future. We talked about this every single time I've preached this series. I think for us that we do ourselves a disservice if we despise the season that we're in and the thing that we're doing so much that it actually keeps us from the future. Because I wonder, how did God even know that it was supposed to be Elisha and not somebody else? Y'all remember David? Little David? David. What was David doing when he got anointed? He was taking care of sheep, right? Before he ever killed Goliath, he was out here killing lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my, yeah? That's what he was doing. And what did God say about him? He said, he was a man after my own heart. Notice something. He did not say that about David later. He said that to David as a kid, as a young man who was working a thing that wasn't even his. It was his daddy's, who was so embarrassed of him that he didn't even bring him in to be with his brothers when the prophet came to anoint him. That ought to tell you something. It doesn't matter what people say about you. It doesn't matter about what you feel about your job. It doesn't matter about the thing that you think that you can't do or I'm not good at or whatever. Just work what you got. You might not be the best at it, but guess what? You can control your attitude. You can say, guess what? Y'all can treat me like crap at this job, but I'm going to come in here with a smile on my face. I'm going to clean them toilets like it's my house. Y'all don't want to talk about that. Doing something you don't want to do. I guarantee you right now, some of you, God is withholding your future and waiting because you're not taking care of your present. What if God is waiting for you to take care of your present so that he can unlock your future? Because here's the deal, I told you this before, if you don't take care of it now, you're not going to take care of it then. God will not bless the thing that you despise. God is not going to bless that. Take care of what you got. Work what you got. How do you think he had 12 oxen, yoke of oxen, 24, it's literally tractors in all that land. Why do you think he had it? Because he worked. He got up every day, didn't miss a day. And God said, that's the type of man I want to represent me. That's the type of person that I want to use. That's the type of person that I'm going to bless. This is the thing I really realize about the world. The people that care about what they have, God blesses them, whether or not they know them or not. I don't know if you realize that or not. Those who believe that they have something to contribute to the world and they actually care about what they have passion about their job, they wake up every day and say, I'm bringing something of value to the world. It's those people that God blesses. And this is the sad thing, his own church don't even care about what they got. So guess what? People be in Christ but be terrible for the world and terrible workers, and people don't want to hire you. I'm here to say, if you're not taking care of it right now, you're not going to take care of it then. God's not going to bless the thing that you despise right now. Work what you got. Work what you got. That was my last point from the last time. It needed to get preached again, I guess. I don't know. Maybe God's really trying to talk to me. Maybe, you know. But you got to take care of what you got, because the future will find you. Another thing I think about that is, with the future that comes, it's going to find you one way or another, whether you're ready or not. At some point, you're going to graduate, whether you're ready or not. At some point, you're going to have to pay some bills, whether you're ready or not. Some of y'all are going to have to buy a car, whether you're ready or not. Because, man, I'm telling you, life don't wait. That's my second point. The future don't wait. Your future is not going to wait for you. What do I mean by that? If you look at the story and you look and see what happens with Elijah and Elisha, the picture that I want to paint for you is that this man is out here plowing his field. He's just on the lawnmower doing his thing, just working. And this dude just runs up on him with a cloak, which I'm like, Batman wears a cloak. I don't know how I feel about a cloak. It feels very like 90s streaker. I don't know how to feel about it. That might be too much. Anyway, cloak, all right? Some of y'all got that. Others of you, don't worry about it. But my man is minding his business, and somebody comes and runs up and puts a cloak on him. And first off, I'm concerned because I don't like people's clothes on me. I don't like other people on me because I don't know if you got lice. I don't know what your situation. He might have BO. It was back in the day they didn't have deodorant. I bet it stank. Like, there's just like a whole thing about this that is just offsetting to me. You ran and run up. It's hot outside. One, I'm sweating. I don't need nothing on me, sir. Thank you. But what he does is he puts his cloak on him and he just keeps it pushing. Just like, could you imagine someone just running up on you on campus and like putting a backpack on you and just like, not even looking back, nothing. Not even like, hey bro, how you doing? Having a good day today? Just like, gone, just gone. My man had to stop the oxen. He's like, whoa, hold up. All right, don't go nowhere. They had to talk to him because oxen, they're huge. They're just gonna take off. Hey, stop, okay? Had to talk to him. Bessie and Sheila, hey, I need y'all to stop, okay? Hold on, okay. Hey, y'all seen I stopped? Put the brakes on. He put the little, you know how bikes used to have a little. He put the little thing on it. Okay. Put the little thing on, and then he said, "All right, I'm gonna go chase him." So it says that he went and he ran after him. So this wasn't a quick interaction. Just know, could you imagine Elisha? Earlier it says, did y'all know this? I appreciate you. It said earlier, y'all not gonna believe this. The Bible's crazy. Y'all, for real, y'all think I'm playing. Go read this. First off, it's the verse. It's right before this. It's in chapter 18. This man, Elijah, okay, he says, there's gonna be no rain in Israel until I say so. Because I'm a gangster. That's what he said. Y'all think you cold, I control the rain. Bye. Actually, but he says that he goes up on this mountain and he prays. And he prays and he prays and he prays. And he sends his attendants and says, hey, go see if there's rain. Nothing. Then he comes back and said, there's a cloud. Then you see these rain clouds coming in, about to rain. And he says to Ahab is the king, the bad king. Remember he married Jezebel? He trifling, all of that, okay. So he says, prepare the chariot and go down, lest the rain stop you. In a little while, the heavens grew black with clouds and wind, and there was a great rain. And Ahab rode and went to Jezreel. Listen to this. See, y'all need to read y'all's Bible. Verse 46. And the hand of the Lord was on Elijah. And he gathered up his garment. And he ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. First off, did you read the Bible? It said that man was on a chariot. I'm talking Usain Bolt. He said, I'm ready to go. Took off. So imagine how Elisha must feel. This man got wheels. So he literally gets off and says, I got to go chase this man. So he takes off running. Thank God he has been in shape because he was working the field. You got to take care of yourself. You got to work. Anyway, he's chasing, right? And he catches him and he says, hey, hey, bro, I need you to, hold on, calm down. He's still walking like, walk with me. I'm like, all right. I had to work out with my girlfriend recently and she did this to me. I couldn't keep up. I said, just keep on going. I'll catch up later. Whew. He said he ran after Elijah and he said, let me kiss my father and my mother, then I'll follow you. He said to him, go back again, for what have I done to you? The future won't wait on you. The future won't wait on you. You know, I think for us, we're hesitant to step into the future that God presents to us because a lot of times it doesn't come packaged the way that we think it should. It feels a little different to get a cloak put around you with no words. What am I supposed to do with that? I think a lot of times for us, we say, God, I want you to tell me what I'm supposed to do in my future. God, what am I supposed to do in my life? What's the calling that I have? What's my purpose? I want to be passionate about something. God, like, tell me something. And you look into heaven like, God, why are you not speaking? And you're just waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. And what happens is God will bring opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And we're so closed off to the idea of an unextraordinary moment that we often miss our future that God has for us, or at least opportunities to step into that future. Because I don't think you miss the future. I think that you can delay when you step into it. This mic thing is getting me, sorry. I think that's what happens. We get hesitant and we stop. And we want this billboard from heaven moment where God opens up heaven and he shines down and there's like a fan that blows her hair back and you're like, oh, that's her. I can tell. Jesus showed me right there. Look, oh, that's what you want. Am I wrong? You have two opportunities. You have these two choices, maybe even four choices in front of you. You're like, okay, do I flip a coin? Or do I like, okay, hold on, let me pray about it. I'm going to pray and fast and pray for about 6 weeks. Nothing. Okay. You going to tell me what I'm supposed to do, or am I supposed to just figure it out? Right? Isn't that how we do it? And we get frustrated because it's not clear enough for us, right? I need you to speak from heaven, God. I need you to go ahead and rumble the earth. Let me see what's up. I need you to make it clear. Because like, how am I supposed to know if it's not clear? And if it's clear, and it might need to be a little bit more clear because I don't know if I'm actually ready to take that step or not. Because the other part of this too is that it caught him at an inopportune moment. I don't know if you know this or not, but when you're plowing, that is not a good time to stop and run. Hello? Some of y'all right now are in the middle of something and God is saying, hey, I got an opportunity for you. And you're like, hold on, man. Like, I got like my school I'm trying to do right now. Like, I'm trying to get my grades in order. I'm trying to like do my thing. And God's saying, hey, I'm not waiting on you. God doesn't wait until you're ready. There is this misconception in our world that once we're ready, that's when we get to step into something. You want to know how I know that's not true? You ready? There were kids in middle school when I was a senior in college that are married right now. They were not more ready than I was, I promise you. They're not, I just promise. You know, you heard that? I'm not ready for a relationship. I just got to get my stuff in order before God brings my person. That's false, okay? Because there's some dysfunctional people that are married. Trust me, okay? I've lived enough life to know. You know, just like you know. Am I crazy? Am I crazy? Am I preaching to y'all? Talk to me. What's up? Am I on it? Y'all paying attention still? Is this helpful? We think that there's this time, this moment that we're ready, and God just says, "Here you go. You're now ready." That's not how God works. This illusion of readiness is not real. This man was in the middle of plowing. He had a whole harvest in mind when he was plowing. I'm working this ground so that I can put seeds in this ground and get something out of it so I can go live my life, pay for my bills, live my life. Some of us are so busy with the life that we're trying to build for ourselves that we miss the life that God is trying to introduce us to all the time. All the time. Some of you right now have the opportunity of a lifetime. You're never going to be this connected to people in your life. I know it's a pandemic, all of that. You're in college. You are literally, most of you, outside of you have a job. Some of you have a job and you're in college. You have the most time to talk to people ever. Some of you don't like talking to people, but you have the most relational currency with people that you're ever going to have. Some of you are in fraternities, sororities, and you're like, man, I can't stand so-and-so, and you get caught up in drama. Guess what? There's an opportunity for you to be a light in that place, and God is asking you to step in and be the person that he actually created you to be in that space, because guess what? People are actually thinking about ending their lives in those places. They've had a hard life. They have mean people around them. They don't feel like they're worth anything, and they need you to step in and say, hey, you're valuable to me. I just want to let you know that you're important. I actually like being your friend. I know that sometimes you can pop off, but I realize that that's just a defense mechanism, and you actually want people to love you. I'm going to hug you until you're nice. That's all it's going to take. There is an opportunity for you right now where you are, and there's this illusion of readiness that you need to let go of, because guess what? Until you're ready, you're wasting your life. Because the moment you feel ready is the moment that something's going to happen, you're going to not feel unready again. You got to let go of the illusion of ready, or the life, the future that God has for you is going to walk right past you. The second part of that is sometimes it doesn't look pretty. Sometimes it's hard. Like, dang, that's what I got? I thought it'd be different. My expectations are different for this. And I think we want that thing to feel a certain way for us to grab onto it. That we know that this is the right thing. And God just doesn't operate that way. We wait for that voice from heaven to boom out and say, yes, this is it. Keep waiting. It's not coming. Right before this, Elijah is standing on the mountain. He wants to speak to the Lord, and it says that the Lord passed by, and a great strong wind tore the mountains and broke in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, the sound of a low whisper. And Elijah heard it, and he wrapped his face in his cloak, and he went out, and he stood at the entrance of the cave. And behold, there came a voice to him and said, what are you doing here? It wasn't in the earthquake, it wasn't in the fire, and it wasn't in the wind. God's in the whisper. In the whisper. In the quiet place. In the unattractive place. In a place that requires you to settle yourself down, to quiet your life enough to hear him. My assumption is that Elisha had worked his field and was faithful and was waiting for an opportunity for God to use him. My next point is that your future is going to require a choice. Your future is always going to require a choice. Elisha is met with this moment where he doesn't even get words from Elijah. He just gets a mantle thrown around him. Right past him. There wasn't an explanation of what was going to happen. Didn't tell him what his life was going to be like. None of that. It's an opportunity. You know, I've been in your shoes. And oftentimes I still put myself there, whether or not I know it or not. But I think I expect God to do something miraculous when he's steadily doing the miraculous in a not miraculous way. That sometimes he is doing the most extraordinary things in the most terribly packaged, not cute way. This moment where Elijah puts his cloak over Elisha is not a dude putting his jacket on somebody else. What he's actually communicating in that action is everything that I am, everything that God called me to be, everything that I've been in this world, I want you to be just like me. I want you to follow me. This is going to be yours one day. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. Don't miss it. And it took the presence of mind of a man who had presently done everything he could to see a God opportunity in an unmiraculous way. There was no word spoken. God didn't open up heaven and tell him it was the move. The opportunity happened and he took off. Some of us wonder, how do we know God's in it? Well, first off, yes, listen for his voice. And some of you are like, man, I don't even know how to listen to God's voice. Well, let me help you out. The Bible says that if you're his, you know his voice. His sheep know his voice. So if you know God, you know his voice. And you want to know why you know his voice? Because it's the same voice that called you at the beginning. It's the same one. And the more you hear him speak and the more you say yes, the clearer he is. And guess what? After a while, you don't need the voice anymore. Why? I've got parents in the back. They're in the back. They're my parents. A lot of times, I did some silly things, okay? And I would need my parents to say, hey, no, Blake, that's not what we do. You got to put the toilet seat back down. Men, put it down, okay? But after a while, I didn't need her or my dad to tell me those things. Why? Because I knew their heart. I knew what they wanted. I knew their intention. It's the same with God. That if we just spend our lives looking for his voice and looking for him to tell us things, we never actually mature. Because when we move from a child into an adult, we operate different. That those things that God has put in front of you in your life to walk in, at one point, yes, he did need to tell you. He did need to call you. You did need to hear his voice. But then there's other times in life when you've reached a point of maturity in your knowledge and your of your knowing of the word, of hearing his voice and saying yes when he said it. There's going to come a point in time where you don't need to ask him things anymore. It doesn't need to pray about it. It's like, oh yeah, should I love my neighbor? Absolutely. Oh, should I serve my community? Absolutely. Should I give to my church? Absolutely. Should I go out of my way for someone else? Absolutely. Why? Because I know it's the heart of my dad. I don't need it anymore. Elisha was a man who didn't need a word from a guy. He didn't need a word from God. He didn't need a sign. He said, God, there's an opportunity to do the thing that I've always wanted to do, that you put in my heart to do, and I'm going after it. All of me is going after it, not part of me. I'm not hesitantly coming into this. I don't need to know a plan of how this is going to play out. I don't need to know my next 5 years to be able to make that step. All I know is, God, you've called me to it, and how do I know? Because I want to do it, because I know your heart. Let me step into it full speed, not hesitantly, but let me actually grab it and take every bit of the life that you want for me. I want all of it. I don't want to waste a day. I want to live every moment of my life with purpose. Every moment of my life meaning something. And I think so much of us are so discontent with life because we're waiting for this huge moment for everything to change. And God's saying, change it. Let's go right now. I'm ready today. What? You thought you were SFA on accident? You thought you have your group of friends by accident? You thought that you came from your family by accident? You think that you're from your neighborhood by accident? You think you're gifted by accident? What are you thinking? You think all of your life is just a conglomeration of just moments that happen? No, God has directed your life, and he's asked you over and over and over, hey, just step into this with me. Just say yes to this thing with me. Let's go take this world and let's change it. That's why God gives you his spirit. It's not like that he's just withholding. He's like, hey, okay, here's a thing for you to do over here. No, he's put himself inside of you so that y'all can go do stuff. Y'all can go do things. I don't need to go pray and say, God, I want you to use me to change my city. Yeah, go change it. You see something wrong, go into it. You see parents and kids that need help, go serve. You got money in your pocket from a job, that what you're going to go buy shoes for? Yeah, that's stupid. Go help somebody. Come on. That's for me. Because I like shoes, Jesus. But man, God is asking you and he's inviting you into this thing. But if you don't step into it, you'll miss it. You got to go take it. Because it's going to come find you whether you know it or not. My last point, and the thing I think is actually the most important about this entire story, as John and Heath come back up, there's this moment that he has, and he tells Elijah, he says, hey, yes, I want to go follow you. I'm in. I'm about that life. Let's go. And he says, but first let me go kiss my father and my mother goodbye. Let me just say goodbye. I'm leaving that life. Let me just say goodbye. And he says, go back. What have I done to you? Essentially, do what you want to do, bro. Ball's in your court. I'm going that way. You can come if you want. I think for some of us, the reason why we never step into the life that God wants for us, the future that he has, is because there's always something that's easy for us to fall back into. There's always a good reason for us to go back. Always. His parents. It's a good thing. Sometimes we have family members and we have stuff that holds us back. Maybe it's not even them as good people, but maybe it's some things that we didn't resolve and we're still holding on to. Maybe it's an opportunity. Maybe it's success. This dude had a lot to lose. A lot to lose. This is probably a lot of y'all's dream life. That y'all like, God, I want that future for myself. 12 of that? Money? Hello? I can buy all the Nikes I want. Success, all of that. And he trades it. Why? Because good don't mean easy. Easy don't mean purposeful. Prosperous doesn't even mean purposeful. Some of you guys will settle for a good life and miss a great life. And the reason why it's great is not because it's easy or because it's good by the world's standards, but because it's the life that God made you to live. It's probably going to be a life that's extremely hard, that oftentimes you wish you didn't actually say yes to. A lot of times it's ones that you're like, God, are you sure this is not what I signed up for? It's going to cost you everything at times. But that's the difference. A good life is one that makes sense. A great life often is one that's filled with faith, which always requires risk. Always. You don't get to get both, I'm sorry. It's one or the other. Yes, you don't have to be poor to walk with Jesus, but some of you, maybe that's what God's called you into. Maybe God's called y'all to be super rich and give to people and help support the mission of God in the earth. Maybe that's what he's called you to do. But he's waiting on you to say yes to it. The last part of this, and I think is actually the most important part of this entire text, is that it says that he returned from following him and he didn't go back and do what he said he was going to do. Actually, what he does is he takes the yoke of oxen, he takes all 12 of those oxen, and he sacrifices them, and he sets them on fire, and he gives what he has to the people. If you're going to step into the future that God has for you, you got to start some fires. For some of you in this room, there's some things that you need to set on fire that's keeping you from stepping into the future that God has for you. For some of you, it's bitterness. For some of you, it's hurt. For some of you, it's good things. Maybe it's even a dream that you had for yourself, a future that you planned for yourself. If you're going to step into the future that God has for you, you can be that or you cannot be. Can't be both. You choosing one thing is you choosing not to be something else. You realize that? You can't be everything. You can be one thing. You got to set it on fire. There's some things that you need to leave behind. Some stuff that needs to let go, that you need to let go of. And I think the most impactful thing about that entire piece is that he doesn't do it in private, he does it in public. Oftentimes, God is actually asking us to deal with our things with other people, not for us, but for them. Because later on in Elisha's life, he has an opportunity to turn back. Multiple, actually. Elijah actually tells him, hey, go back, you're good, we're done, see ya. I'm not going anywhere. Why? I got nothing to go back to. He burned his whole future down, his whole past, his present, and future that he built for himself. He burned it to the ground so that he could never come back, regardless of what happened. And he burned it in front of those people so they knew he was never coming back. Some of your most important moments of your life is the moment you burn something in front of somebody else. Why? Because they need to see that they can do it too. They need to see that they can let go of that thing too. Some of you have walked through stuff that people around you are still walking through, and they need to see you put it to ashes and let it be done in your life so that they can know they can do that too. That they can burn it to the ground and they can step into that future also. But it's going to take courage to do that. It's going to take heart to do that. more than anything, it's going to take commitment to do that. You can't halfway burn something. It's burnt when it's burnt. That's how it goes down. It's done. Some of you, as John and Heath are coming up, I want to just lead us in a moment where we get to actually think about a thing that we can actually let go of and lay down so that we can step into that future. So that you can start actually living the life God made you to live. It's going to come at a cost of something, and it might be painful, but my God, it's worth it. This walk with Jesus, some of you, you've never made that step. You've never said yes to Jesus. You've never had a moment where you actually thought you even needed him. I'm here to tell you, man, I've had so much life that I've lived without him. And I got to a point where I was like, man, in comparison to these two things, it's not even worth comparing. Yes, this side is hard. Yes, walking with Jesus is hard. It's going to cost you things. It's going to make you walk a certain type of way. It's going to make you have to apologize for things that you actually feel like you're right about. It's going to make you go back and right wrongs that you wish that you could forget. It's a life where you have to put yourself down over and over and over and sacrifice those things that you want down and say, God, I want what you want more than I want for what I want. I'm finished making decisions for me that burned up with the life that I chose to live then. This is the life I'm living now. And right now, I want you to have a moment. I want you to have it, close your eyes. I don't want you to think about anybody in this room. And in this moment, I want you to picture Jesus, whatever he looks like to you in your mind. Imagine that he has just come to you and he's just given you a moment where he's called you into a life wide open to live every bit of the life he made you to live, for you to be every bit of the person that he made you to be, that he knew you before you were even in your mother's womb. That he knows every hair on your head, every choice you've ever made, everything that you want in your life. I just, in this moment, I want you to just imagine that Jesus is asking you to let go of that and to say yes to what he has for you. Whatever that thing is, it's okay to let it go. He's telling you it's okay. I know that you're ashamed to even bring it up. You're even hesitant to talk to him about it. It's okay to let it go. His blood has covered it. His death on the cross has covered it. And he loves you. He is for you. That he is not holding that thing against you. And he is not withholding your future because you've made a mistake. He's actually constantly and has never stopped inviting you into that future with him. He is just waiting for a moment for you to stop and say, yes. Yes, Jesus, I want everything that you want. I want a life with you. Yes, God, I believe that you died for my sins. I believe that you died to give me new life. I believe that you love me as me, not as who I want to be or as who I should be. You love me as I am. And that it's okay that I've made mistakes. It's okay that those things have happened in the past. Yes, they hurt. Yes, I regret them. Yes, they affect me. But Jesus, I believe that you have a new future that you're speaking over me tonight. And all I have to do is say yes to you and yes to it. That's it. Jesus, I give you my life right now. I give it to you. Do what you want with me. What is he asking you to let go? What is he asking you to set on fire? And what is he asking you to say yes to?